All right, guys. Welcome to week 5 of the mental conditioning program. First, we're going to talk about visualization, like what it is, why it's important for your mindset. We're going to talk about your approach to the game, like more specifically your approach at the plate, your approach as a pitcher, and your approach as a position player, and how this can improve your mindset. Like having an approach can improve your mindset during a game. And then we will talk about how overcoming obstacles is a chance for you to grow, can make you stronger. Okay. So first, let's talk about visualization. I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, I vividly remember myself in my basement using the Joe Mauer quick swing, if any of you guys know what that is. Dropping little golf ball size wiffle balls down the hatch, and it came back, dropped, and I'd be swinging at that, and I would have a plate, and I had a net. Shout out to my parents, very blessed. And I would visualize myself. I would imagine myself on the Twins, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases loaded. I need to hit a grand slam for our team to win the World Series, and I'd visualize myself do that all the time. If you ever visualized yourself making a diving play and like saving a no-hitter or ending up on Sports Center top 10, you have used a mental skill called visualization or sports imagery. Visualization in sports, otherwise known as sports imagery, means using all of your senses, seeing, feeling, hearing, even tasting and smelling, to rehearse your sport in your mind. So a study that we found from Believe Perform says that 100% of the coaches and 97% of the athletes surveyed agree that imagery in sports does enhance your performance. Again, research shows that if you imagine the proper execution of a skill, it will help with the actual execution of the same skill when you do it in real life. Athletes can perform a drill faster and with less mistakes when they use imagery compared to those who do not use imagery. So that's just one stat that kind of shows you how important sports imagery is in sports. We're going to do a little exercise that I found from Frontiers for Young Minds. I'm going to have all of you guys close your eyes. I can't see you guys right now. We're all going to close our eyes, and we're all going to imagine ourselves eating a slice of watermelon. Just imagine yourself eating a slice of watermelon right now with your eyes closed. Now we're going to open our eyes, and we're going to think about what we just saw. We have that image in our head. And then we're going to repeat this exercise. So again, close your eyes. Imagine yourself holding the slice of watermelon in your hand, in your right hand. See the vibrant colors of the watermelon, the green edge, the pink flesh, the brown seeds. As you take a bite, taste the sweetness of the ripe watermelon. The juice drip down your hand. So what we just did there was we're using more vivid descriptions in our head. We were thinking more vividly. We were being more descriptive. If you guys have ever read a book, if you can remember yourself reading a book and thinking that the words on the paper were creating an image in your head, that's imagery, okay? And it's a skill that you can get better at. So let's talk about some more like data that this website has found. So they found that athletes who use imagery in sport have been found to make quicker decisions about which strategies to use and when to use them. Young athletes have indicated that using imagery helps them to anticipate what will happen next in game situations. So a good example of this is you're playing shortstop, playing right field, whatever it is, whatever position you are, and there's a certain amount of outs, and you're thinking about what you're going to do next. So let's say you're a shortstop. It's 1 out, guy on first. You're already imagining in your head what you're going to do. And as a part of the strategy, it's that you're going to do a double play there, okay? And you're thinking to yourself how you're going to throw it based on where you field that ball, right? The closer you are to the guy, you're obviously going to flip it, maybe even take it yourself if it's right up the middle, stuff like that. You're imagining yourself making the play before it happens. That's why it's so important to know how many outs there are, where the base runners are, knowing the situation. That's why we try to work on that in practice as much as we can with base runners. That usually helps us when we do that. If you imagine yourself being calm and relaxed in your sport, shown to lower your anxiety and stress related to the competition and performance. So again, if you're someone who struggles with your anxiety, with doubting yourself, or just being stressed out, you can imagine yourself as a more calm individual. You can imagine yourself being more confident and more relaxed. And this has proven to help you, reduce your anxiety and stress. It kind of goes back to our 5 C's that we talked about in the past. I don't know if all of you were there, but I can kind of go back to it. It's just about having convictions, about being confident. That's all stuff that you need to envision. So next we're gonna talk about approach. Last week we talked about how our like daily routine and our pregame routines can really help our mindset and improve our performance. Now we kind of want to talk about your like mindset and your approach should be during the game. And you can practice this outside of the game, but this is gonna help you, especially those who tend to overthink in games. Having an approach can really keep you focused, like just like on one task. Every great hitter or great pitcher has an approach that they trust. It's something that they have practiced many times. Having an approach, again, can keep your mind focused on the task at hand instead of overthinking mechanics or allowing negative thoughts to creep in. An approach in baseball is essentially your plan at the plate or on the mound. And there are many approaches to baseball that work for different players. So whether you're a contact hitter, whether you're a power hitter, you might want to have a different approach at the plate. But for the most part, most great hitters have very similar approaches. And these approaches need to be adaptable to the type of hitter or pitcher you are competing against. So I think this will be a little bit easier to understand, like when we have some examples here. Not all approaches work for everybody, but we should be following what most of the elite players are doing, most of the MLB players are doing, and that's what we try to do at Complete Athlete. One example would be hitting low line drives. If you've ever had a hitting session with me, a hitting lesson with me, or just have worked with me with batting practice, you have heard me talk about how I want you to hit low line drives. Low line drives in batting practice usually result to gappers in game. We've talked about this many times. You don't want to get in the habit of trying to lift everything. Okay. You got to trust that your mechanics, your hip rotation will get that ball in the air. Hitting low line drives is an approach that we believe in, especially something that you want to start thinking about when you're popping up. I can use Mike Resendez as an example, but he's not the only one that this has worked for. But he would always try to pull the ball to left field, the home run over the left field fence, and I would tell him to hit a ground ball to second base. That was his approach. That was his task at hand, and he would hit a line drive to center field. So that's one example. Another hitting approach is trying to hit the ball gap to gap. Again, some of these overlap. You can do multiple of these approaches. Some of them you can't do both, but most of them you can do both. Like you can do low line drives in the gap. We want to hunt fastballs early in the count, expecting off speed when you're down 2 strikes. So, that's shortening up, trying to go the opposite direction, not trying to pull it, not trying to be out in front. Because if you're trying to be out in front, he spins you a curveball, you're going to look dumb. But again, not being afraid to look dumb when it's your count, when it's a hitter's count. When it's a 2-0 count, he throws you a curveball and you thought out of his hand it was a fastball and you miss it. So what? That was you earned the right to look stupid on a 2-0 count because you earned that count yourself. You worked a 2-0 count. You can swing at what you think is a good fastball down the middle. That doesn't mean overswing. That doesn't mean lose your balance and be out of control. It just means assume your fastball is coming and you think it's coming. Try to hit it to left center or your pull side. You guys hear me at third base coach, my 14U guys. I'm always saying time the fastball, balance for off speed. That's an example of an approach. Let's talk about some like basic pitching approaches you could have. Obviously, everyone knows start ahead in the count. You always want to start with the strike. When you're behind, you're forced to throw pitches down the middle, and that's what the hitter wants. A good hitter is gonna capitalize on pitches down the middle. You got to be able to read the hitter's swing, so that means having an adaptable approach. Say you're starting with a lot of fastballs and then ending with curveballs, and they're timing up your fastballs. I would start working backwards, off speed, then a fastball. Okay, that'd be an approach you could try to have. Again, these are all things that are like tasks or like philosophies or ideas that you can think about during the game to kind of play the game, because we're playing a game. You shouldn't be thinking about the mechanics. So these are approaches in your head that will, again, keep you focused on the task at hand. Another approach we like to have for our cutters and our two-seamers, we want to throw them right down the middle or aim them down the middle, especially early in the count, and let the break do the work. Okay. If you throw the pitch down the middle or like a slider or like a curveball, obviously if you have a lot of break in your curveball, you're going to want to aim it a little bit higher. But again, aiming down the middle and kind of letting the break take it to the corner or off the plate. So those are some examples of approaches. Does anyone have, I would like someone in the chat, like if you do have another approach that I missed, or maybe like a fielding approach that you could think of, that's a little bit different than like the strategy, but like more just like, I mean, it could be the strategy as well. An approach fielding I can think of would be like, if this guy lays a bunt down or if he, hits a weak grounder, I'm attacking this ball. I can think of a fielding approach I've worked with you guys. A lot of the MLB players now, the shortstops, are starting to backhand a lot of things that are like slightly to their right or even down the middle, because if they're going to first base and the ball's coming right at them, try to cut it off to have their momentum still going towards first base. So we've talked about that backhand and how that's an approach that you could have as a fielder. Again, just stuff like that can keep your mind off. I'm sure everyone's had to deal with some sort of obstacle or adversity in their life, and I'm sure all of us have handled it well in certain situations and not so well in other situations. But overcoming adversity begins by adopting the right mindset. You have to see adversity as an opportunity to better yourself, both physically and mentally. If you see every loss as a learning lesson and every win as a product of your preparation, you can overcome any obstacle. So let me say that again. If you treat every loss as a learning lesson instead of getting extremely upset about it, again, I've talked about in the past, we're human. We're allowed to be a little bit upset, frustrated, stuff like that, but it has to be short memory. We can't be demonstrative in our body language. But again, so if you treat every loss as a learning lesson, you'll just be able to grow that much more. You'll just be better. Like all the MLB players, all the professional sports players, this is why they are so good, because they have failed countless times. They've gotten back up. They've overcome whatever obstacle it was they were facing, whether it was an injury, whether it's a tough loss, bad officiating, coaches' biases, expectations from parents, making critical mistakes at a critical moment, disrespectful fans, mental mistakes, any sort of missed opportunities at all. Every MLB player that has dealt with one of these obstacles, one of these examples of adversity, they've dealt with it in a healthy way. They've used it as an opportunity to grow and get better. So I'm gonna do a football example first, and then example that happened in CA. So one example is the Los Angeles Chargers in 2017. They lost their first 4 games, and there was only one team before then in the history of the NFL that made it to the playoffs after going winless in their first 4 games. It's early in the season. they go 0-4 and they end up making the playoffs. Like that sort of stuff can happen in any sport, okay? Whether it's in one game or a whole season, like you got to treat it like you got all the time. Not that you have all the time in the world, but that there's always a chance. There's always time to come back, okay? One example for us would be I was coaching the 17U team with Coach Maddie. This was against Blizzard, and we were down 10-1 in the fourth or fifth inning, and we posted 8 runs in 1/2 inning, got down 10-9, shut them down the next inning, still 10-9. We come up, score 4 runs, hold them, win the game 13-10. Those guys could have easily gave up after 10-1, but they didn't. They ended up winning. I won a championship with the 16U team this summer, and we lost game 1, and they had lost 3 games before that. So they were on a 4-game losing skid, and we ended up winning the championship. We won 6 games straight after losing 4, ended up winning a championship. So, that just shows you that if you believe in yourself and you trust your teammates, you use your past adversity, like times that you've overcome obstacles in the past, like you can think back to that, like you can always overcome these obstacles, never say never. I mean, what do we always say? What's the saying right now?
Never back down, never what?
Yeah. Finish it. What is it?
Never give up.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you. Because it's important. It's funny, but it's very important. It's very true. It's very real. So again, we talked about some strategies that we can use to overcome adversity. I've talked about this many times. This is one of my favorite sayings. And this is the part of the video where we get into some phrases that you guys can kind of remember. It's week 5. I want us to end on something good. So one of my big ones is control what you can control. Trust the process. Understand you are capable of handling adversity, remembering that it's only temporary and not long-term. Use your past adversity, times that you've overcome obstacles. Use that when you are facing one now. Always be confident in your team and yourself that you can come back from a bad performance. You'll be able to bounce back from anything. Remembering that body language is a huge sign of your mindset. Always keeping your chin up, accepting your mistakes and moving on. Just focusing on how you're going to bounce back. Again, one of my favorite sayings, I don't know if any of you guys know who Isaiah Thomas is. He's the 5'9" basketball player right now. I don't even think he's on a team, but he's one of the most inspiring guys. Like, he's just smaller than everyone. He's not super athletic either, and he's a dog, man. He really led that Celtics team to a lot of playoff victories. And one of his sayings is slow grind. I think we should all adopt a slow grind mindset. If things aren't going well early in the season, remembering that the season is long. Not looking for instant results. Improving your physical skills and your mindset is a marathon, not a sprint. Again, another one of those phrases. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Trusting the process, loving the journey. And when the success finally does come, you got to remember what got you there in the first place. Okay? You can't just start coasting from there. I'm a prime example of that. I put a lot of work in before my 9th grade year of baseball. I ended up getting some varsity time, some Legion baseball time, and stopped working hard after that and didn't make it as far as I wanted to make it. And we don't want that to happen to any of you guys. Really cool that I've gotten the opportunity to do this mental conditioning program, because I think it's really important that you guys learn from your coach's mistakes and your parents' mistakes and your own mistakes. Because if you have the right guidance, if you have the right mindset, the right help, the right work ethic, you can go really far in this sport. You can go really far in whatever career that you choose. And I think the more and more you adopt some of these mental skills that will improve your mindset, the better off you'll be in whatever you do.